Power On Weekly, hosted by your boy, Irving Legend, and your girl,
Allie Mayhem.
Allie Mayhem. Welcome back. Oh, okay. I didn't know we were doing the DJ air horn. Welcome back to Power On Weekly, everybody, for the week of October 5th through the 11th. Thank you for joining us once again. Sorry about last week.
Slow news, busy work weekend. So
yeah.
We took it off. I feel like, I'm not sure. Like, things are either going to get really busy when the consoles come out, or I think things are going to just really be kind of slow through the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning towards slow because of COVID. So we may take an occasional week off here and there with holidays and stuff coming in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even this week we were really busy with weddings and stuff, but
10/10/2020, the biggest wedding day of the year, even during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was wild. But we really wanted to at least do this episode. It might be a little short. No slow news week again. I was going to say no slews week.
No slews week.
Yeah.
Not slows week.
Yeah. Like the Sims.
I was why you speak in Simlish.
But we are going to talk about this episode is really just all about movies. Yeah. I'm a huge movie buff, so there's a lot of things going on right now with movies, especially with the current state of the world. So let's talk about a few things that's been going on. First thing, we'll actually talk about this because this actually leads into the next conversation, which is Regal Cinema is temporarily closing 536 locations worldwide. This is Regal Cinema and then Regal something else like in the UK.
Yeah.
But that's worldwide. They're shutting down these temporarily. Are we surprised, Allie?
No.
Nope. I mean, the reason being is there's not a lot of movies coming out anyways, and not a lot of people want to really go to the movies right now.
Staying open, I think, would just bleed them dry, because you've got to think about it. When you're, like closing, they're not going to be having money come in per se, but if they're open and no one's coming, they're bleeding even more by paying staff. And like, that sucks for the staff, but like, I get it as a business decision. Well, what's worse, to like lose money or bleed?
Yeah. I mean, we, throughout the States, they have reopened a few here in the States at 50% capacity. But like I said, like not even a lot of movies have come out. New Mutants finally came out. They finally kicked that out of the amount of times that delayed that movie. They just finally were like,
they're like, just get it out of here. We're done.
Yeah, seriously. That movie came out. Tenet, which was a huge thing that
super anticipated.
Yeah. Came out first, I think overseas first, and then it came out here. And we'll talk about Tenet in a bit because that actually goes into what we're going to talk about in just a bit as well. Bill and Ted Face the Music, Trolls World Tour came out earlier this year, like at the beginning of the pandemic, and it also came out on streaming services the same day too.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't realize it released in theaters as well.
Yeah. And obviously, there was another movie called Unhinged, but obviously Mulan came out as well. And I think
not in theaters though.
Not in theaters and on Disney Plus, which, man, that was a whole other thing. Like, yeah. So yeah, for us, I want to ask, would you feel comfortable going to the movies right now? Like, are you bummed that like that Regal is shutting down and we're not getting these big blockbuster movies coming out?
You're asking the girl who doesn't really like to go to the movie theater in general, so it's no skin off my back. Like, I'm not really like a live events kind of person. I have to really like someone want to go to a concert. I have to really be interested in a movie or a performance to like go to a theater. Like, I'm definitely the person where I'm like, I've never minded waiting for it to come out on Netflix or renting it at home, or I don't know. It's funny though, because my mom is a huge movie buff. Like, growing up, I would be at the movie theaters every weekend, just about. It didn't even matter what was coming out. My mom was like, let's go to a movie. I don't even care what it is. So it's funny that I'm not a movie buff because I grew up with it. But I mean, and especially with everything going on, like, I would not be comfortable. Like, I'm not someone who's like super scared about getting the virus, but I'm just like, if I don't have to be somewhere right now, I'd rather not. And like a movie theater, on top of there not even really being anything coming out. Again, I'm not a huge like movie theater buff. I don't like to go spend $20 on popcorn and sit in a crowded theater with a bunch of people on a normal day. During a pandemic, I'm good.
Yeah. I feel you on that. I do love movies, but like at the same time, like I don't know, it's unnecessary right now. There's so many other forms of entertainment that I could that are easily disposable to me. where I don't have to leave my house. So for me, like, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, it's like you said, like, it is what it is and it's fine. Like, I'm not really too like distraught about it. There were some movies that I was looking forward to, but I mean, they'll come out eventually and that's about it.
I feel more bad for, again, it goes into like employees.
Mhm.
Employees are the ones that are getting screwed. They're losing their jobs. They're not able to work, whether they want to work during a pandemic or not. It could be like food on the table or not. Like, I feel bad in that aspect. But yeah, as someone who's not a huge moviegoer, and I know you enjoy going to the movies, and so I always feel bad because I'm like, I have to really be interested for us to go to a movie, but they're just, it's hard, right? It's hard because they're just really, movies are expensive. Even like your tickets to go in, like you have to plan a meal beforehand because otherwise it's too expensive. Have always looked at it as a way to see a movie in a luxury way and like just to be the first. But there's just so many things that I'm like, I don't really need to be the first. I don't really need to jump in. Like I said, more often than not, I'm like, I can wait. So
Yeah, well, I want to know how you guys feel. Are you bummed about these closings and not being able to see movies this year in general, like at theaters? Have you gone to the movie theaters since they've reopened? I'm really curious. Let me know in the comments below what you guys have been up to. Now, following that news of Regal Cinema closing down its locations temporarily, its locations, we also saw that Warner Brothers they delayed Dune. Okay, Dune to 2021. It was originally supposed to come out this December in 2 months.
soon.
Yeah. And then they also announced that The Batman was delayed until October of 2022. Most likely due to, the current state of the world. Robert Pattinson, he did test positive
During
during
filming.
filming. Yeah, which mostly probably caused some delays as well. I find it interesting that Dune did get pushed back though, because they also have Wonder Woman coming out in December as well, or maybe that's why they didn't want him to compete. Okay, I just answered my own question. But I mean, I showed you the trailer of Dune, and you know nothing about it. I mean, neither do I. I'll be honest. But the director, I have all the faith in the world with him. He did Blade Runner 2049. He also did Arrival.
Done great stuff.
Yeah, Prisoners and Sicario, which I haven't seen Sicario yet, but Prisoners is such a great movie. Danny Villeneuve, right? I was afraid.
Sure.
Yeah. Fabulous director, really, really good. So I'm excited for Dune. Sucks that it's gonna get pushed back, but I mean, like we just talked about, it is what it is. Other movies that were pushed back from Warner Brothers is also No Time to Die. The amount of times that they've pushed back that movie. It was originally supposed to come out earlier this year. They kept moving it. Same thing with Wonder Woman. They kept moving it. And we're coming up until December. And with this news, I would not be surprised if like maybe it's Wonder Woman summer movie of 2021. And like I mentioned, Tenet did come out earlier this year. And in an article in an Forbes article, they wrote, Tenet is performing like an original movie directed by anyone other than Christopher Nolan. Which I mean, Christopher Nolan, he carries a lot of weight with his him. So it's that says a lot that this movie is just doing average for his name.
It's got nothing to do with his name, though.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah, but for them to be like, oh, it's performing this way, like it makes it sound like a really negative thing. And I mean, here's the thing: is it sounds like if he really cared about the numbers, he wouldn't have released this in theaters. He had to know it wasn't going to do good. I think as a creative person, though, he's like, no, it's meant. This is how it's meant to be seen.
Yeah.
It's more of that. So, like, I don't know. It just sounds like really snarky.
Yeah.
Like, and I get it's just to be like to prove a point of like this name isn't drawing it in, but like I don't know what else.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. What do people expect?
Yeah. I mean, it made $350 million worldwide. And it cost $200 million to make. So I mean, this is a loss, basically.
Yeah, but it's still a profit, and like it's just sad timing. I feel like this movie would have done amazing in other circumstances. And the thing is, it's not like there isn't opportunity for it to still do good when it's released for sale. I feel like this is going to be a movie that is going to not get onto a streaming service anytime soon because of how high profile it is and because of the loss. I feel like they're going to do everything they can to make you pay to see it, which I think is, with the circumstance, fair. Yeah. Like, make it very much like you have to buy it or rent it first, like, for probably a few years before it's a streamed movie or whatever.
Yeah. So we because there's something that we actually talked about like a couple days ago off screen as well, that part of like the strategy of like still releasing movies during this time is so then they can easily just, you're like, okay, now they're out and about the 3 months or whatever period that they need to be out in theaters before you can release it on DVD or Blu-ray, whatever. Like, then you can do that. Do you think that's why like we're seeing like things still coming out even though it is the current state of the world? Are they banking on New Mutants to really pull in sales on DVDs, or do you think like they're just like, just get it out there basically?
I don't know, because if you notice, it's the really high profile movies that are being pushed back. I think it's the ones they were already expecting a loss and not to do good that are going to come out just to get them off of the plate. That way, because if you think about it, if they do wait, they're then going to compete with these high profile movies, right? So like, like if you're putting New Mutants and Wonder Woman out at the same time, like New Mutants already doesn't have a good reputation from the delays. So I think it's just, they're probably just pushing out the ones that they're like, oh, we didn't expect this to do that good anyways. Like, get it out there. If we make profits in other places, great.
Again, I'm not surprised of the delays. I am a little, well, I'm not surprised of like Regal Cinema also closing as well. It is a shame. I know that like the movie industry has slowly been not doing so good the past couple of years anyways, despite like the success of like superhero movies that have really taken off. But it's just, from what I hear from the industry, it's just not the same, and there's not really much of a profit into it. So this is really going to hurt it in the long run I think for a while. Again, we keep saying that like these are things that we're seeing at base level right now, but it might have like future repercussions. Like,
it's going to be a boring 2021, 2022, I think. I think it's just entertainment is going to be very, very limited. The things that are going to be coming out are going to be very limited. Because this is just going to keep going. Like you said, like we have these movies that are delayed even in production. And I think that's good because that gives them more time to slowly produce these movies, keep their staff safe, kind of find ways to limit exposure of like the virus and stuff while we're here. But for the entertainment, industry, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a very slow rise back up to ramping up productions as they normally were. I don't think things are going to be, too much is going to really be released until like 2023. That's just my prediction. Like, I think this, even if we have a vaccine in the next year, it's going to take another year or two before we really start seeing that productions pick up and like start busting them out for a few movies a month again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because the best example is like Dune. That movie's pretty much shot. Like, it's done. It's ready. You just got to edit it and put it all together and stuff. But the fact that they delayed it even to 2021, I mean, possibly to not compete with Batman and all that stuff too, or Wonder Woman. But yeah.
No, I think more like we kind of chatted about the delay for Dune. I think more has to do with the closure of theaters. Because if you think about it, you said that the Dune delay was announced after the Regal closure. Yeah. That's about half the theaters in the United States. So if you think about it, if they're releasing a movie, you're going to get, if everything's already at 50% capacity, that's not a lot of people that can get in to see the theaters or into the theaters to see the movies. And then on top of that, you're having everyone go to one chain instead, which may be great for that chain, but it goes back into virus exposure where it's like, okay, like now you have these bigger crowds because there's only one theater chain or two theater chains to go to. So I think they just realize it's not going to do good for them financially because they're only able to show in half the amount of places. Yeah. And I hope that it has to do with like just general public safety where they're like, okay, like this could end up really bad if we're packing these theaters at their 100% capacity for what the capacity limits are. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, I think you're right because they probably had firsthand experience with Tenet. Tenet with Christopher Nolan was one of the most anticipated movies. And that didn't do as well as they would hope they would have under all the circumstances. So they were like, well, with the delay, like you said, with the shutdown, like, or, the temporary closing, like what hope does Dune have, even though I mean I have a lot of hope in Dune, but yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Well, because you have to think about it too, right? Do it, and I think this is like the same things that kind of video games are going through, and like all these entertainment industries are going through. Of yes, it's been shot, it's ready to go, but do you take that? You know that most of these movie companies are making their most of their money through theater sales, especially with how streaming has become big now, and they're only getting small portions of these like monthly fees. People aren't really going out so much and buying movies in DVD form. They're not getting that revenue as much as they used to. So I think at the end of the day, like it's gonna hurt their pockets right now to not release it because yes, they've paid everyone. They've paid for all the production, but long term, it's going to make more sense that, okay, when theaters are more opened up in a better state, you're going to have more people coming. So they're going to make that money back. Like I said, I think Tenet is a perfect example of a movie that would have probably done a lot better if the situation had been a little different. It's kind of like just holding on to that movie they're going to profit long term instead of like being like, okay, let's just get it out and make less. It's like it's a nice waiting game. It's the tortoise and the and the hare. Like they figured which decision will make more sense. Holding off now, they'll win the race in the end and they'll make a lot more money if they just give it a little more time.
Yeah. So I want to know what you guys think about the movie delay. Are you disappointed, sad, understanding of Dune and Batman specifically? Let me know in the comments below. And like I said, have you seen a movie in theater? Do you feel comfortable going to the movies? Again, let us know in the comments. So speaking of a virus,
Ooh, look at that segue.
Speaking of the virus, Resident Evil is getting a reboot. The Resident Evil movies is getting a reboot by the same studio that brought us the original Resident Evil movies.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Different director though. So don't worry about Paul W.S. Anderson, although we are going to talk about him in just a bit as well. Directed by Johannes Roberts, which he did 47 Below or something like that. It was like the shark movie where they're trapped in the shark cage and it was real suspenseful and all that fun stuff.
So it gives hope for the suspense in this.
Yes.
That's a very basic concept. And if you can make that suspenseful, you're given a lot more tools with the zombie movie.
Yep. And there is a giant shark in the original Resident Evil 1 game.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's helmed to direct a Resident Evil reboot starring a bunch of people. We'll go down the list real quick. Kaya, I'm not even going to try to say her last name.
Scoldelario,
as Claire Redfield, Hannah John Kamen as Jill Valentine, Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield, Tom Hopper as Albert Wesker, Avon Jogia as Leon S. Kennedy, Neil McDonough? Yeah, McDonald. Yeah, maybe. William Birkin. If you know anything about Resident Evil, all those names should be very, very familiar with you. They were basically all the main characters, protagonist and antagonist, Resident Evil 1 and 2, which Robert then said in an interview that that's actually where he's going to try to do these films in. With this movie, I really wanted to go back to the original first two games and recreate the terrifying, visceral experience I had when I first played them, whilst at the same time telling a grounded human story about a dying American town that feels both relatable and relevant to today's audience.
Interesting.
I am excited. It sounds very promising. If anyone knows me, you all know that I love Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil 1 specifically. And if we're going back to the Spencer Mansion and the Arkley Mountains and then down into Raccoon City midway through the movie, then I'm all for that. Especially with this all-star cast. I mean, Kaya, you've known since
Skins.
Since Skins, yeah.
She was Effie.
Yeah.
And she was young when she did that. She was still a teenager. And I haven't really followed her career since, but she was so good in Skins. Like you could just tell she was very, very young and very talented. So I mean, it's been over 10 years since I've seen her in that. So I'm sure that her skill as an actress has just grown. So seeing that name was really exciting for me.
No, for sure. And she just recently did Crawl, which was another kind of 47 Below type movie where it was basically a crocodile, an alligator, whatever it is, trapped inside a house during the middle of a hurricane with her basically.
Oh God.
Yeah. So she's all ready for being hunted down by creatures and stuff. So
I just hope she doesn't become sandwich. I fucked up the joke. Oh wait, but she's not Jill.
She's not Jill.
Dang.
Yeah.
The joke wouldn't have worked anyway. I'm just cut me off. I'm done.
That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
That's the extent of knowledge.
I wanted to make the Jill sandwich joke and I ruined it. All right, Irving, you take back over.
Yeah, that's the extent of Resident Evil that Allie knows. The Jill sandwich. Yeah. I'm very, very excited for this. I think that even with that statement, it has a lot of promise. I've been pretty vocal with you about my dislike for the original Resident Evil movies.
You liked the first one, did you?
I liked the second one.
Oh, the second one. I knew one of them. You were like, it was decent.
It was a bad movie, but the only reason why I liked it was because it was the closest the
most faithful.
The closest it could be to Resident Evil, because it basically took place in Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You watched the first one and you've never played Resident Evil, and you actually you liked it, right?
I did. Like I said, the thing is, I went into these movies when they released with no, like my mom had played them, but I didn't play them. So I enjoyed them for what they were. Yeah. I know that there's issues with them, and I've watched you play the original Resident Evil since when they did that remaster. So like I have, but like honestly, I don't really remember the movie enough to be like to put the two together and know what the issues were, because I watched Resident Evil in theaters on release, and my mom would take me to movies every weekend.
Yeah.
But I never rewatched it. I enjoyed it at the time, enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah. I know that we watched the first one, the second one. I want to say we saw most of them.
Maybe.
But no, like me and my mom. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, me and my mom saw most of them, but again, they weren't so memorable that they stuck with me. They were enjoyable, but
yeah. Like I said, the second one, although all of them I think are terrible, the second one is the most like faithful to the game. The third one had a rockin' soundtrack, even though it was also terrible, and it also took place in Vegas.
Oh,
it was really weird. And then from that point on, it just gets shit crazy. Like it just gets wild and ridiculous. And they eventually introduce Claire and Jill. I mean, Claire and Chris and Albert. They do a very faithful adaptation of like a fight in Resident Evil 5. That's pretty much done like screen for screen, like with Albert in it, which I love that fight in the game. I hate it in the movie because it just
didn't translate right.
It translated visually right, but like the background of it, like the stakes of it, or from the original Resident Evil or from Resident Evil 5 to what the movie compared to the movie, it's not the same. So even though they tried and they did pretty well, like I still don't think that it hit home what it needed to hit home.
So you're excited that they're rebooting, and you're excited that it's a new director and a new direction and a hopefully more faithful adaptation of what it originally deserved and didn't get.
Yeah, because like I feel like because like the director of the original movies, Paul W.S. Anderson, he actually stated the reason why he didn't just follow Jill and Claire and like all the original cast, and why he made Mila's character Alice like the main character. And it was more of like, well, I figured that like if you came to the movie and you pretty much saw what you played, then it would be kind of boring and not a lot of like, like different like elements of like differences that you would interest you to keep coming back. Basically, he just wants to make a ton of movies.
Yeah, no, but I mean, and at the time, because one of those movies released early 2000s, right?
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
like the superhero genre wasn't big, the game genre wasn't very big, so like that's a fair argument, and I think that's a fair argument for any person trying to make their own adaptation of anything. It's just a matter of, was it good and did it correlate with the original sources and stuff, I
think what the thing that I think bothers me the most is like, if that was the case, then why not just make your own original like kind of zombie movie or something? Like it's not like,
because they got the name and helps with the money.
Well, that's exactly why. But if like
that's okay, Irving, that's not a fair argument though, because then if you want to go that direction, then they shouldn't be making Halo novel books and like like there's always going to be places for them to like these games and stuff to pick up other things. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like
Yeah.
to have have your own original zombie movie. Well, they want it in that setting and that story and that. So I think that's kind of an unfair argument because that doesn't ever allow for a universe to grow.
But I think the difference is that like that
But they were doing it for a money grab.
No. The difference is that like a thing like that is like that's not just like taking the world and just making your own spin on it and then just like, oh yeah, it exists in the same timeline as this or whatever. Like the Fall of Reach game, Fall of Reach book is pretty much like if you play like parts of Fall of Reach or the original Reach and Fall of Reach, like you see like things on there, like they complement each other. They're not like we're this. They just added a new character and they were like, oh yeah, and then Alice is a part of the group and she does this and that and it just kind of takes over. Like it does a different alternative universe, I guess.
Yeah.
When in that it's like it's all within the same canon universe, but I do understand what you're.
I'm just saying that if you want to make that kind of argument, then you kind of limit a universe or a world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. And speaking of the dynamic duo of not us, obviously, because we're the perfect dynamic duo of Paul, Paul W.S. Anderson and his wife Mila, their next project together, another Capcom property.
They love them Capcoms.
Another video game property, and another done by the studio Constantine Films again.
Monster Hunter
coming this December. Yeah, Monster
World?
Hunter. No, just Monster Hunter movie. Yeah, it was originally slated for September 4th, and then it got pushed back to April 23rd, 2021. And then out of nowhere, they just decided, you know what? We're just gonna release it in December.
Wait, so has it been completed already then?
Yeah, pretty much.
So they were going to pull the whole like thing like WB is doing and push it back, but then they just decided fuck it.
I don't know what they decided.
It went from September 2021 to December of this year.
It went from September of this year to April of next year, and now back to December this year.
Okay.
So yeah.
So the movie's complete. They've just been juggling around release date. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand now. Sorry.
Yeah. They've showed some teasers of Diablos kind of doing Diablo things and going through the sand and coming out and stuff. I'm just gonna say like the monsters look great. They look really good. They look super cool. I just can't get out of my head. TI downscoped, closing the wrong eye.
Yeah.
Let me break down the premise of this real quick. So, and this kind of goes into why the direction as well is that a group of Marines for some reason get transported to the world of Monster Hunter. We'll just call it the New World because that's what it's called in Monster Hunter World. And they get there and they realize, I don't know, they can't fight with their weapons or their guns. It's not useful against it. And the hunters that live there, they take them under their wing. Probably everyone dies except Mila. I guarantee that's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Everyone dies except Mila. And then she has to find a way to like basically hunt the monsters and get back to her world and basically be a rookie monster hunter and get to, at the end of the day, you're going to fight Safi Jiva and like, I don't know, like Alatreon and also, what's the most recent one? God dang it. I'm so mad that I'm missing it. Anyways, yeah.
I hate it. As someone who's not really into Monster Hunter anyways, that premise does not make me like, oh, I want to give this world a chance. Like, the premise sounds stupid. Like, you're not pulling me in as someone who already doesn't really care.
Yeah. I have really mixed feelings about it. I think it looks great. I think visually it looks cool. If I can look past like the stupid military thing and Mila, like I think
maybe.
Yeah, I think I want to like it, but I also don't want to be excited for it because of the duo, because of them, because
you jaded.
Yeah,
Resident Evil jaded you.
Yeah, they really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't know. Like I know that sounds kind of like real. What is it? Not. It sounds picky or whatever, but I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in what they did with Resident Evil and what they're doing now. Now they did kind of to please the fans. They did like a little short snippet where they went to Tokyo and they met with the creative directors of Monster Hunter.
The fluff piece.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, we showed you this rendering, and now we're going to show you what we changed. And they showed a side-by-side comparison of the Diablos. And, the game director was like, oh, yeah, it looks great. Like, wow, that looks just like, that looks so nice. And then they showed the Rathalos and the same thing. And then they showed, like, the group of, like, Aptonophs, like, these little, like, dinosaur things. And they were like, wow, you did things in the movie that we couldn't do in the game. Like... And at the end, he was like, if we can deliver to you, then we can deliver to fans. And it's just... Like, I don't know if that's actually the right way to think about it. I think the fans are way more toxic than the creative director.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
So we'll just have to see. Now this also, super quick. This also kind of brought me to a question of like, has there really ever been a video game movie that you've enjoyed? Like, we've talked about how many video game movies are actually so terrible, and we don't have to go down this list, but like from this list, is there a movie in here that you're like, yeah, I'll give that one a go, or like that one's a good one?
Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu.
I feel like I hear a lot of good things about that Sonic movie too, but we just haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah.
So I'll just give that a shout out from fan reviews, especially like I'm someone who loves Sonic, so I will watch it at some point. I actually enjoyed the Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
I remember watching those. Those were good.
We haven't seen the reboot.
And then no, we haven't seen the reboot. And then of course there's the video game movies that are so bad, but it's like that campy, like good, like the Dead or Alive movie.
Yeah, DOA, Dead or Alive.
DOA. Oh my god, it was garbage, but I loved playing Dead or Alive at the time, and it was so freaking campy that like I genuinely enjoyed it. And I felt the same way growing up on the Mortal Kombat movies. I only really remember the first one. Like, I remember, I think it was Sonya literally freaking sandwiching a guy's head between her thighs and twisting and breaking his neck. I remember being like 7 and thinking that was the coolest thing ever. But I remember like enjoying how campy it was. Like, I don't really think there's a lot of movies that I would say are a good movie though. Like, honestly, probably Detective Pikachu, and a lot of that probably has to do with just the fact that it's so fresh in my head that I remember it enough to be like, yeah, you know what? I liked that.
I think I can agree with that. Detective Pikachu was a fun movie. I love seeing the Pokemon in real life. Like, I thought that was so good.
It wasn't as creepy as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Or the ones that were super creepy, it was like in a good way where you're like, yeah, that would be realistically how gross that thing would look.
Psyduck.
Yeah. Magikarp.
Yeah. And I do want to watch the Sonic the Hedgehog one as well. Mortal Kombat, those were terribly fun movies. DOA, I completely agree. Need for Speed was a movie that I really enjoyed, which was bad too. It had Paul, what's his name? But Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah.
He starred in it. I love that movie. It was really fun. And Silent Hill. Silent Hill was one of my, like, I never played the original game. I've seen many walkthroughs of it, and speedruns and all that stuff of it. So like I know it like pretty well. I would have loved to have been able to experience it, but I thought the movie was pretty good. And it wouldn't be, Sean Bean wouldn't be in a movie without getting killed. So, and that's the one where he definitely did. Which is it's also sad because I think the original game had him in it, right? No, wait. Never mind. He didn't die in that one. Never mind. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, I mean, video game movies are terrible. So I have no faith in
any of these.
And
to be honest,
I hope that the Resident Evil one does well, better than the Resident Evil, original trilogy, or not even trilogy, just like 6 movies. And we'll just have to see how Monster Hunter lands. But I think there is a curse, and I mean, even with like this list, this is like 43 worst to best video games by Rotten Tomatoes. The top 3 are Sonic, Detective Pikachu, Angry Birds 2 for some reason. And
kids,
those only top 3 have above 50%. Everything else below it is not certified fresh.
I do have one question on this list.
Okay.
The Pokemon movies. So Detective Pikachu is based off of a game. It's off the Detective Pikachu game. So that one I can see and I can argue is a game movie. are the Pokemon movies really game movies though? They're actually based off of an anime. So
They are. Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to like what someone's opinion would be, because now that I'm looking at it and I see like Pokemon 2000, like, and all of those being on this list, I'm like, I don't consider those game movies. I consider it because it's based off of the anime and it's in that anime universe. I consider those anime movies, even though they're technically based off of a game franchise. So I'm just kind of curious as to like,
I agree
that's
too.
my food for thought on that one.
I agree too, because when I was looking at it, I was like, why are these movies on here? Also, why is Pokemon the first movie like towards the bottom? What the heck, dude? Like, why is that? And I'll link the list down below so then you guys can kind of take a look at it and
see what we're talking about, what we're referencing.
But I found that really, really odd.
That
also,
is.
There's a Ratchet and Clank movie that came out in 2016. Were you aware of that?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, had no idea.
Yeah, it's Super Mario Bros. The really terrible campy one is
actually above Pokemon, the first movie.
And Assassin's Creed. Well, I mean, Assassin's Creed doesn't really give a lot of weight to it.
Oh, okay.
Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme is towards the bottom as well.
A weird list.
Yeah. I think they were just kind of pulling for whatever
anything they could. Yeah, because I'm sorry, the Pokemon movies are not game movies.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious is what other people think. Are they? I want that food for thought on that one. Is it a video game movie or is it an anime movie? I'm very, very curious.
That's true. But that's unfortunately all the time we have for this week's episode. But I want to know what you guys think about first of all, the Resident Evil reboot. Are you excited for it? Are you looking forward to it? Are you not? And also, what are your thoughts on the Monster Hunter movie? A lot of our friends play Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah.
And I know that you guys have opinions, so let me know in the comments below. I really want to know what you guys think. And what is your favorite video game movie based off a video game, and what is your least favorite? Let us know in the comments below. I know that this one doesn't count, but I think that we can both safely say that Wreck-It Ralph is the best video game movie.
Duh. Best video game movie ever. And then the worst video game movie ever, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. That movie was garbage. Absolute hot trash. Excuse me. Go ahead. You might have to bleep that.
Yeah.
That's how heated I get.
Yeah.
Very upset.
I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and we will see you next week. So take care. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye.